competing philosophies. There's just like a couple different, like, I mean, you can't really, it's pretty hard to argue against any one of these points individually. So I wouldn't say there's any competing philosophies, but I would say rather that there's no other philosophy that is directly applicable to your life. And I mean, there's a couple other, there's some dark things like cynicism says that that men are evil always, and you should always only look out for yourself, whereas Stoicism kind of goes on the assumption that everything is being guided through life for you, and everyone has their set path, and that not everyone is evil. And then you have, like, I forget what it's called, but there's another one that says that everyone is good and always has good intentions, so those are obviously not reconcilable.
So how are you supposed to apply this? So, like, for example, going through a change of, a paradigm shift in your head is very difficult, and I believe that's what you're proposing, right? So how would you go about, adapting your mind and your train of thought for something like this, per se? I'm just curious, because I know there's, ways of repeating and conditioning your, the way you think in order to do so. But I'm just curious to see how you do it.
So like the way I did it was you just start with flipping the obstacle, where you just, everything you see, as soon as, so meditation helps with this a lot, just being aware of your thoughts in general. I think that meditation is important no matter what, but especially important for recognizing mindset shifts. And so as soon in your daily life, as soon as you realize that you think something is bad, like even if it's like really small, like, oh, I dropped my pen on the ground, I have to go pick it up. As soon as you realize that you thought that this is bad, you flip it around into anything that is good. Like, oh, I dropped my pen, okay, I needed exercise anyway, like, this is helping me be more flexible, or I didn't like the pen anyway. Like, anything that you can find is good. Even if that good thing is just, I can practice hard situations. You just say that to yourself, this is a good thing, this is what happened, I'm happy about this. And eventually, that mindset shift will bring, and you can go into any other principles.
So Adam wanted to ask if there's a relationship between Stoicism and psychopathy.
Psychopathy? Like,
Yeah, psychopath.
I mean, like, in what way? I don't know.
I don't know, I guess he means like, I don't know. It seems like a lot of it depends on like, oh, I guess it's not worth living if you don't X, Y, Z. I don't know. It just seems like it's, I guess, and this is me reading into Adam's words, but is there a tendency for someone who is Stoic to either be think of themselves as mentally ill or be thought of as mentally ill by others?
I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, like,
I don't necessarily agree. I'm just asking a question. I don't know. Well, so and I guess I don't know. Maybe he'll ask clarifications to me, but and the question I had was, do you think that the Stoics of old would be atheists if they did not have to, in some way, appear like not atheists? Because I guess they use like fate and nature in very like vague ways. It almost sounds like deists, like oh, that's there, we have to like do credence to it, but
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, so they were all very logical people. I mean, like, one of the main Stoics, Cato, invented propositional logic. So I think that they would have gotten to the conclusion that atheism is the most likely possibility. But I'm not. You do see a lot of like you said, nature and fate, which is vague, but I do think that in some cases they do believe in a God controlling everything. Marcus Aurelius specifically, you see a lot less in Epictetus and Seneca. Pierre Cadeau actually said that, made a point about this in Inner Citadel, where he said that it's more likely that Marcus Aurelius believed in God because he started off very wealthy. He inherited the emperorship, whereas you have Epictetus, who was born into slavery in pretty much the worst conditions possible. So he was way more pro to atheism, whereas Marcus Aurelius was thanking God for everything he had. I don't know if that answered your question. It kind of went on to a bit of a different
No,
area.
I think it's fair. I guess it's just weird that I don't know. It's weird that atheism seems to almost be at odds with this just because of the high reliance on like fate. I don't, because it seems like almost if you didn't have the fate/nature bit, it would be like nihilistic. So
Yeah.
I don't know, like it would devolve into nihilism.
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't cover the quite like. There's a lot of Stoic works where it covers what is the meaning of life, and essentially it doesn't say that it's not nihilism. Though it points out to it says that there. I haven't read an incredible amount, but there is a point to living. It's to work with others and to be good.
Okay.
So do you think it's sustainable if, for example, for myself per se, so if I wanted to take ideals from Buddhism and Christianity, Stoicism, or whatever it may be, and compile that into my own, sort of philosophy per se, do you think that's sustainable? I'm just curious.
What do you mean sustainable?
Sustainable in that in and of itself, you can recreate it for your, make your own religion sort of thing. And how to govern your life per se?
Yeah, I think that's, Stoicism. Stoicism absolutely is something that you can integrate into your own life sustainably.
Okay.
I mean, if you combine it with other religions, it's not, because there's many things that are irreconcilable about it. But if you look at Buddhism as if you look at the non-religious part of Buddhism, there's a lot of commonality with it, especially since Buddhism is tied very closely with Taoism,
Okay.
and Taoism shares a lot of the same things with Stoicism.
So do you think that modern Stoics are more, hey, this is how I act because it makes sense to act that way, I'll call myself a Stoic? Or is it, I don't know, do they arrive at Stoicism more so than read about Stoicism and decide to adopt it? I don't know. I guess it just seems like those are a lot of like things that would logically happen independent of what someone originally started believing. And someone could do a lot of those and almost independently of Stoicism implement.
Yeah, that's like almost everyone not that many people have been exposed to the Stoic philosophy, but almost every great leader or entrepreneur has adapted Stoic principles at one point or another, and most probably arrived at them independently of reading Stoic works.
So, you mentioned, the Taoism and kind of, philosophy, but I feel like a lot of Buddhism is, maybe this is kind of what I'm remembering, I might be wrong, but, there's, innate, desires and, what you have to, suppress those desires through, meditation. But, how does the, I guess not all of it, but part of it. And, how does Stoicism, handle, desires or, in the balance of, healthy versus, unhealthy desires or,
Yeah, I mean, so I wouldn't say that Buddhism necessarily says that you have to suppress your desires. Buddhism is more, in my view of it actually, is that you have to recognize the desires and know how to deal with them, instead of just letting them run rampant in your brain, not knowing what they are. But on the second point, which was
how does, how Stoicism address desires?
Oh yeah. So it says, one of the quotes on Marx writers was that you should not let your desires, your bodily desires, fuel your actions. You should always act rationally, and if you're as rationally as you can anyway, and rationally that includes everything should be good for the community, and what should be good for the community should be good for you. So, and if your desires happen to be in line with what is good for the community and what is rationally the best option, then you should do that.
So, if I made a philosophy that I called winning, and I had all of the people who happen to win in life, supposedly even though they've never been exposed to my philosophy that is called winning, and even though they haven't really been exposed to winning, they all emulate all of these different facets which we call winning.
Yeah.
It would seem like Stoicism is very aligned with that type of deal. I don't know. It just seems like one could, if you were very cynical, which is ironic, look at Stoicism as, hey, we'll just jumble up all the stuff that seems to make people win and call it our thing and say it's better than everything else. What would be, is that wrong or is that incorrect? I don't know. It just seems like there's not a gigantic work. It just seems like a bunch of compiled, like, hey, this is how to act. And a lot of successful people act this way, so act this way type deal. Does that make sense?
I mean, like, yeah, that's how one of the modern works are put together for Stoicism now, but, I mean, it's definitely, it's clearly has its basis in...
Well, yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with it. It just seems interesting that it seems piecemeal as far as, a lot of people emulate this, and then they must be Stoic, I guess. It just seems very, prescriptive rather than...
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
get what you mean.
It just seems interesting. It was more of a just...
Yeah, that's definitely the case in some areas.
Anyone want to start a new school of thought? That'd be great. Just winning. No. Okay. How did you stumble into it?
Did I stumble into it? Oh yeah, I was looking at marketing, and to promote my business 2 years ago, and Ryan Holiday is a very prolific marketer. He was director of marketing at American Apparel when he was 23 years old, and he has 2 books on it. He has Trust Me Online, Inventions of a Media Manipulator, which is amazing, but it's less of a how-to book, more of a this is what goes on behind the scenes of major marketing campaigns and media manipulation. And then he also has Growth Hacking Marketing, which is where the actual term growth hacking comes from. And so that's basically a how-to guide of how to grow small businesses very rapidly and get rapid media attention. And so I read that book originally, and then was like, okay, what else does this guy have? And stumped. He was like, okay, I'm coming out with a new book on Stoicism. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that is, but this is he also provided a reading list, and at the very top of the list was Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And so I was like, why not? It's $1 on Kindle. I guess I'll buy it. And I read it, and it was way different from any of the other philosophy books that I'd seen before. And it was just like, I can definitely see where I can actually improve myself using these principles. And from there, got a paperback version of the Gregory Hayes translation, which is the best one. So, and then just kept reading more about it.
Are there any other philosophies that you've kind of mooched off of because you found them useful?